Hey everyone, Chris Sawyer here. The Varietal Show is back. We have some really fun wines to talk about today, and we're talking about purity of fruit. That is the underlying theme here because fruit matters and grapes matter, you guys. This is Cormorant, or in French, Cormorant. This is a great brand that this young fellow here has developed, and it is a great thing. This is Charlie Gilmore, and Charlie, I got the chance to taste your wines last year. I enjoyed them immensely, and I've been waiting to film this for a while, you guys. So what I got lucky on, he released some new wines that we get to talk about. But Charlie, you and I didn't really know each other that well, but we knew a lot about each other and our respect for growing great grapes, and also not using pesticides and herbicides and fungicides, and how you can do it in a natural way. What really inspired you to really focus on that with your brand?
I really feel that organic grape growing and biodynamic grape growing, there's a mentality that the farmers all have to have, that they have to be on top of their vineyards way before anything happens. So it feels to me that they're more in tune with their vines than a traditional, conventional farm.
Yeah. More like European style. You know, they didn't have a bunch of chemicals and stuff back there. They had to do it for a long time just the way it was. We have learned a lot. You've had some experience up in Mendocino County, a really great place with Fetzer and Bonterra and some of these other great brands up there. Tell us a little bit about how that made a difference in your philosophy.
It was great to be an organization that allowed us to really go out on our own and play with different wines and seek out what we could see in different blocks, whether we picked them early, later, and we'll work with the growers to see how we could get the best out of the different vineyards.
That's great. What we're tasting right now is a Vermentino. It is a great grape. If you wanted to put it in French, it's actually Rolle, R-O-L-L-E. It's the same grape. But this is a really special one. This is from up in El Dorado County, from a special vineyard up there. What got you into, first of all, he's really good at white wines, you guys, and we're going to taste two of them, but what got you into working with this grape and also these other grapes that we're going to be talking about, Grenache Blanc and Marsanne?
I've liked Vermentino for a long time. It's a great grape for making a really nice, fresh, fruit-forward white wine, and all the ones I had really great acidity to them. So when a friend of mine approached me, the vineyard manager, Chuck Mansfield, he said, "I've got a little bit of Vermentino. Are you interested?" That he really wanted to work with me, and I was excited about it for the fact that it's some great grapes with a good alpine influence in the vineyard, which I knew would give a wine with great fruit and great backbone of really good, strong acidity.
Yeah. I will say one thing. Mr. Mansfield just passed away. He was a great person that really influenced a lot of people up there. He's he really followed. People went to him and said, "You grow really great fruit, but you're not growing grapes, and can you help us?" And he really became the man up in El Dorado County, and really did some great things. These are how old are these vines?
These were planted in just before, I think it was 2008 or 2009.
Okay. Oh, they're putting out some good fruit, you guys. This is great. What I loved about it, we tasted it a little bit before, and this one really kind of struck me because it's got some body. It's got texture. It's not like a Pinot Grigio or anything like that. This grape, it's becoming kind of popular here in California and the West Coast. The Vermentino from Italy, it's just a wonderful grape. You know, you think about all the things that you would have with it. Prosciutto and melon, really great. Like going into harvest here, we've got heirloom tomatoes and green zebra gazpacho, and this would be amazing. Charcuterie, cheeses, things like that. I just want to eat something when I taste this because it's so good. How about you? What would you like to pair with this?
I really gazpacho. I didn't think about that one, but that would definitely work. But yeah, so many fresh fish dishes, I think, would go really well.
Fish, there we go.
Just starting out with ceviche. He sold me on that. Right?
Ooh, I got it. This is a great wine, and I just think that, you know, this is really fun. You're creating, these are not mass produced either. What's the bottle, you know, how many cases did you produce of this?
Well, the Vermentino that I just was trying it out last year, so there was only about 120, no, not even. It was like 70 cases of this. I'm going to do a bit more this year because it worked out really well. Yeah, really happy with the words.
CormorantCellars.com, you guys. You can get it now. It's really good. Or if I don't buy it all, great stuff. Let's move on to this Grenache Blanc and Marsanne blend. This is two grape varieties that are very well known in the Rhone Valley. You know, Grenache Blanc has kind of become more popular here because of the success of Grenache too, and yet it has its own ability to do some things that other white grapes can't. Marsanne has always been a great blender with Roussanne and Viognier and those kinds of blends. So this is the new release of that. You guys can see right there on the side. And you have great art on here too, just before we get into it. Where did this art come from?
A friend of mine suggested that I reach out to an artist out of Santa Cruz, Jen Campbell, and she did some amazing work. And I appreciate having some experience in working in the corporate world and watch them spend just mountains of money redoing a label. So I appreciate the artist and said, just here's some thoughts and let her go. And she came back basically with that exact label. There was hardly any tweaks. I think we might have changed the color on the print on the side.
It's pretty. It's definitely pretty. So I love these two grapes, and you put them together. What was the kind of the magic that went into this? Did you pick them at the same time, co-ferment them? How did you really kind of put it together?
Looking at Grenache Blanc, I had a lot of experience tasting a number of Spanish ones, and they tend to have some alcohols that are a little on the high side and tannins that were prevalent. And I didn't want to make a white wine that had a lot of tannin or had a lot of alcohol. I wanted to go more of a lighter style for it, so I picked the Grenache Blanc really early. So it was a lot of fresh fruit, really crisp, clean, but with that early pick, there was a lot of acidity. So to help balance that out and give this wine a nice mouthfeel and finish and make it more of a complete wine, the Marsanne was really important for it. That Marsanne gives a little oiliness when it's fermented in a barrel. And also there's some nice melon notes that add to the mid-palate. I really think those two really work together.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great food wine. It's really fresh and invigorating, mouth-filling. Everything is there. I mean, it's very vibrant. I think so much about the Châteauneuf-du-Pape region and their blends like this that are so just yummy, you know, but they also have an elegance to them and a refinement that makes you feel like it's kind of like, you could call it a porch pounder, but it's a up-class porch pounder. Like you gotta really know your wines to really love this and sit there and really just sip it and enjoy it, because it's very different than Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, and other very, you know, popular grape varieties. This blend is 64% Grenache Blanc and 36% Marsanne. It's from the Preston Vineyard, which is in Dry Creek Valley. You know, he doesn't really sell, Lou Preston doesn't sell that much fruit, but you got some. How'd you do that?
I've known the GM there, Ken, for a number of years, and
that helps.
I had seen that they had sold a little bit to a few people, so I reached out, and they said they'd love to sell me some Grenache Blanc. That's
great. Through the years, I've always bought the Preston white blend that's always got some of this in it. So this is a different interpretation, and I love it. It's really great. And what's the production of this?
I did about 280 cases of this.
Well, that's actually pretty decent in volume. You know, this is if I was a buyer locally, which I am, you know, doing this by the glass would be really interesting and really You know, it can go with a little bit bigger dishes than the Vermentino. The Vermentino is not light. Don't get me wrong; it is not a light wine. But I just think that this has a little bit more complexity and stuff. It reminds me of a dish I had one time that was paired with Viognier, but it was actually a fresh pasta with a kind of a citrus-based broth and monkfish on top of it, and it just was outstanding. But something like that, almost like. I almost want a little bit of a lime thing going on in that too. We can't do ceviche because we already paired it with the last one. But you know, I just think that this is really good. This might be a cheese course too. This would be a really good one, especially if you're starting out that way. Yeah, really good stuff. So great white wine here, and you saw it first here. So now we're going into another one, and you make some. Tell us about other than this grape variety. Tell us a little bit about the other red grape varieties you're working with right now.
I do a little bit of. I do another red wine. It's coming from a vineyard in Santa Cruz Mountains. It's a blend of Merlot, Cab, and Petit Verdot. Yeah. And I've been making that for about 3 years now. It's a sort of an older school approach to making red wine, sort of an homage to the red wines of Santa Cruz Mountains from 40 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys know those wines from Santa Cruz Mountains, you go to Montebello from Ridge, one of the greatest stories of America right there. But growing on the hillside with the influence of the ocean coming right over the top of that mountain in the afternoons pretty much every day. So it depends on where you're at and what your view is. Sometimes if you're facing the ocean, it gets real windy out there and it gets real foggy really quick. But this is an interesting thing. If you really think about Bordeaux, where is Bordeaux? It's next to the ocean. And the only thing stopping it from hitting the vines right away is the largest sand dune in all of Europe. And it's interesting the difference there, because this is just mountaintop fruit and it's surrounded by trees. They cannot produce that much in Santa Cruz Mountains because of the trees and the state parks and also the federal reserved areas. So this is a really interesting. What's the vineyard, the designate for this?
Black Ridge.
Okay, Black Ridge. Where is it? What's it kind of closest to? How do you get there?
It's just off Highway 17, just outside of Los Gatos.
Okay.
So it's definitely on the inland side.
Okay.
From the top of the vineyard, you can definitely see downtown San Jose.
So that means in the afternoons, it's pretty shaded in.
Not too bad.
Okay.
It does get warm, being on the interior side. Yeah. But it's also in that Highway 17 corridor, so there's a good amount of marine influence there.
That's great. So this is that beautiful label here, you guys. Okay. And so this is a really interesting one because I've been waiting to talk about this. I haven't talked about this grape variety, which I love so much, since I was up in Oregon, and they're doing some great stuff up in Oregon and Willamette Valley and Southern Oregon. Gamay Noir. Gamay, you're right. Gamay Beaujolais, in my opinion, made a really bad impression of what Gamay is. Do you agree with that? The stuff that comes out and is released just for Thanksgiving.
It doesn't show the best best side of Gamay.
Yeah, and yet that area has really changed in France, and that area is right below Burgundy, and really a lot of that upper area there is really becoming high-end stuff. And believe me, when you taste these wines, they're amazing. They can have a lot of structure. They're about as close as you get. I mean, they are the child of Pinot Noir. They are in the chain of Pinot Noir. So it has there's some things about it that are similar to Pinot Noir and a lot that's not. I think structure is a little bit of a difference. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's definitely in the, you can tell it's in the same family of Pinot Noir, right off the bat. That's not hard. Yeah. But it doesn't take much wine education for someone to realize this is a little different. This is not your normal Pinot.
Yeah, and that's why I love options. You go into a restaurant and you've got a Pinot list that's this big and you just can't make the decision. Everything sounds good. And like, maybe you just need some Gamay Noir, to be really honest, you guys. Don't you think?
Yeah, why not?
I in the past, I would say Grenache, because Grenache really kind of has a texture that can be like Pinot Noir, but it doesn't have the acidity. That's the one thing that I always feel there. But it's not, there are some that are very, very firm, but a lot of them just are they fill your mouth and they're really nice and they're kind of similar, but Gamay is in the family of this. And this is really purity of fruit that we were talking about earlier. You know, you could do a lot of winemaking technique here on this, and you know, obviously you're into organic, and that's a really important part. What do you do in the cellar to really preserve those flavors and not put too much of you in there? Like vanilla, ooh, where'd that come from? The winemaker and the new barrels that he bought, or the chocolatey things, and these kinds of nuances that are more the bouquet that's created by the winemakers versus the real freshness and the personality of the grape. How do you do it?
With this Gamay, it's coming from Arroyo Seco in a vineyard that really doesn't have a lot of soil to it. It's sand, it's river rock. There's not going to be a lot of big, powerful fruit in it. So looking at it and knowing it's Gamay, I knew like I have to make a nice, fruity, light Gamay. That's the way to go. So it just comes in the winery. Just do about 20% whole cluster and press it and put it to neutral barrels and let it age for a few months, and it's ready to bottle.
Ready to bottle. And it's fresh, you guys. I love this. I mean, it's got a lot of body to it, but it's not, I'm not chewing on it. You know, no. It's not a tannic wine, and it never will be a tannic wine. This is not a tannic grape that you're really fighting things there and trying to, smooth it out so much. You know, what I love about it is just its abundance of fruit. It's got a lot of red cherry, some almost like a raspberry, but more of a black raspberry. And that area is so interesting because it's so windy there. And there are some things that, man, you gotta watch the way you open your car doors there, because like seriously, your arm can get like slammed in the door. That's how heavy this is coming. And it's interesting because you get Santa Cruz Mountains like right there, but this is south of that, and this is where the wind from that bay, the Monterey Bay, really blows right into this junction right there. And it goes past that Santa Lucia Highlands, and this is more of the ground part there, where it's coming right through. And these rocks are round, you guys. They're crazy, interesting rocks. They call them the greenfield potatoes. Actually, if you talk to the locals, they're the greenfield potatoes because they're just these big rocks like this, and they're interesting. As far as like capturing the essence of that site, you know, I feel like you've really done it. I mean, do you feel like you've done it too?
I don't think I could have. I think if I had taken the winemaking in a different direction, it would have been a mistake.
Yeah.
When you just see the fruit on the vine, it just says, don't try and do too much.
Yeah.
You're just going to screw it up.
Yeah.
So keep it simple and let it just start with the native yeast and work its way out.
Yeah. Like I said, these vines get tortured every day by wind, and they don't need to be tortured again. And they are amazingly abundant. This has got some nice skin, contact. I mean, to make it this dark, you have to have some skin contact. How did you, like, say we were doing like Grenache or Pinot Noir, how did this kind of work out? Is this a little bit of a different grape to work with there as far as building it up a little bit and giving it the color and all those kinds of steps?
I wasn't too worried about the color. I tried not to focus on that. I was more looking at the texture of the wine and the flavors of the wine. And I treated it really the punch downs that we used to mix the cap up to get a little bit of extraction and keep the temperature from getting out of control. I just kept it more on the lighter side of Pinot, or how you would handle a lighter Pinot. I think it worked well with this. I've seen other people work with this exact fruit and tasted those wines, and I just felt I've known that vineyard since 2004. And that wind you talk of is very dramatic, and while you say it makes the vines struggle, it also brings in something wonderful for the vines, and that's the cool air off the bay. So if it gets hot there,
every day, you guys,
it'll get to 105. Maybe it'll spend 20 minutes that hot, and then within a couple hours, it's down in the 70s on its way to maybe 53.
Yeah. it's a crazy area, you guys, but I love the fact that you're a boutique producer. You don't produce a lot, but you put your heart and soul into everything that you do, and you go to these vineyards that you feel are the best, that have the strengths that you can take these grapes and focus on the grapes and the site more than the winemaker and how you are able to do magic tricks. You're more focused on that, and that's what I really like about your brand.
Thank you.
And you know, you hear the term natural wines a lot. Would you consider this natural wine or not natural wine? Because your approach is completely natural, but these are also very clean, wonderfully refined wines. And sometimes I feel that natural wines don't go that step further. I know that you work with the great Jeff Cohen at Rosenbloom. Jeff Cohen, if you hear this, you know I'm talking about you, who is very cleanly, like, to say the least, and really was very focused on making sure everything was super clean. And these are incredibly clean, but they're also fresh, and they're very showy because they want to show you what they are. I mean, how do you approach that? I mean, would you consider yourself a natural winemaker, or what would you call yourself? More of the organic focus with just making boutique wines that really are focused on the sites and the varietals?
I definitely consider myself a natural winemaker.
Okay.
But with this project, what I'm trying to do is focus on the winemaking techniques that we had 30 or 40 years ago. To that is really dig down, and it's the site, the vineyards.
Yeah.
And that, just like you were saying, finding these unique spots where each individual variety does really well.
Yeah.
And that's from everything you read in winemaking from back in history. It's all about having the right spot and not having to overwork it in the winery. And that's what I love about this project. That's why I love making each individual things.
I really love these wines, you guys, and I just think that this is the best example for me of natural wines right now. We need more people like Charlie, and these wines really prove it. I mean, they're naturally beautiful, and they're naturally balanced, and they really do taste like the varieties. And these varieties are ones that are not, everyone, the mass of America, what do they drink? Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Cabernet Sauvignon, Pinot Noir, things like that. You're going into a different direction with these grape varieties, but they actually are very showy too about why they are so interesting and why they have become very popular with sommeliers like myself, and obviously winemakers here in California. We talked about Tablas Creek earlier, and about some of these people that really helped us learn a lot about the Rhone varieties. But Vermentino is something that's really coming on, you guys. Italian varieties are getting better than they've ever been in California. Gamay Noir, ooh, it's a little sleeper, you guys, and he's really onto it. So I think this is a great example of purity of fruit, and just a really great guy, Charlie here, that cares about every grape out there. So thank you, Charlie. I really appreciate it, and it's great to be here with you again. Cheers.
Thanks.